Hello and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge, and we come to you with some really positive news, and it's to do with the worst kept secret that has now been made official, with Graham Wright being announced as the incoming CEO once Cook finishes up his post come the end of next season. So over the next 12 months, Wright will virtually be Cook's understudy, learning from one of the best and experienced CEOs in the game before he takes the reins himself full-time in 2026. So this goes without saying, a massive coup for the club, with Wright being highly sought after by numerous other clubs and also by the AFL to take on a role of executive head of performance under Laura Kane. So for him to choose us amongst the pack really is a massive get. So if it was just us sounding him out in isolation and he chose us, it's like, yeah, that's a good appointment. But for us to beat out so many other clubs, as well as the AFL, is absolutely incredible. So tip of the old cap to both Sayers and Cook. So for those that aren't aware of Wright's background and decorated CV, he started in Brisbane's recruiting team from 2004 to 2007 and then moved across to the Hawks, where he then took over as head of recruiting and list management, helping build the premiership juggernaut that saw the Hawks win their three-peat from 2013 to 2015. He then shifted across to the Pies as head of football, helping the club navigate through its salary cap squeeze, with Grundy and Treloar departing the club and freeing up some much needed space, and ultimately helped guide the club to the premiership last year. And speaking of the Pies, our gain is their loss, as they have actually yet to replace Wright's role with another head of footy, and new list manager Justin Lepage goes into this trade and draft period with no experience in this area, without of course having Wright there to assist him. So interesting times there for Collingwood, but that sounds like more of a you issue, Collingwood. So for those that haven't watched the press conference where Wright was announced in his role, I will provide some footnote details of things that really did stick out to me. So first off, Luke Sayers, he gave Wright a call. This is where it was all orchestrated whilst he was overseas about 6 or 7 weeks ago, he said, when it became apparent he was looking to step into more of a role of CEO. And as I said, Wright, he was being courted by numerous clubs. So firstly, for us to get in his ear early on is a big tick. But most importantly, for Sayers to help sell the club's dream to Wright in helping him ultimately decide to come to Carlton does speak volumes. Sayers then spoke about the club searching for candidates for around about 12 months and gave emphasis on selecting the right candidate that would help the club, as he said, go from being a good club today to moving towards a great club. Brian Cook, meanwhile, mentioned how the club was such a values-led and driven organisation, and spoke about the importance of Wright's values aligning with his own, as well as the club in general. He said, respect, people, integrity, humility, and being a team-driven person were those things that stuck out to him as being, aspects of, what aligned with Graham Wright. So I think off the back of that, this should really give us confidence. Such a ringing endorsement from one of the more decorated CEOs in Cook, with 35 years experience across the league. You can't get any better than that. So really pleasing to hear. Wright, he also gave his perspective as well with the following quote. And he said, I felt I had more to give than just football, but I know how big football is, and it is such an important part of any football club. So when that opportunity was there, and particularly to work with Brian Cook, I was really excited by that. That there in itself is kind of speaks to the appeal of Brian Cook and, what he's done for the club across his tenure to date, which I'll get into in a moment, is in itself something that we should be really thankful for. But the fact that, I guess, the leverage, such as the stature of Brian Cook, as I said, as, one of the more decorated CEOs across the competition, that there was a big appeal and hook for Graham Wright coming across and, stepping into the role once Brian departs. So, that there in itself puts a big smile on the face there. Now, speaking to Graham Wright in terms of his appointment as the incoming CEO, I think it has its unique advantages here, and something which a lot of clubs in the AFL lack, and might give us a little bit of a step up, a little bit of a foot over the rest of the competition. So given his expertise, having worked within the footy department especially, it creates, I think, a solid bridge between the administration board and footy department, which will provide, I think, greater clarity, accountability, and most importantly, unity, which obviously, stems from culture and, feeds into that, which is a lot of what Brian Cook, when you hear him speak, mentions that, talks about values, talks about, all of that, which is trying to build a culture within the club, across every single facet that, helps build towards a premiership and build towards sustained success. So, I am, super happy with this appointment. And with that, comes that unique bit of skill set that he comes with. We only really need to think back to, Kane Little when he was CEO and, with no real grounding in operations of footy, he overstepped the mark and it was highly publicised in trying to dictate to the recruiting team and trying to, I guess, guide their hand without having that expertise, which, Wright does have. And with that, created a lot of tension. You would have heard in the media about, Sauce and him butting heads and the recruiting team by and large. But, I was actually working at the club in the media team at that stage. And I can perhaps, maybe speak to that in a later video if people are keen to hear some more thoughts around that. But the real difference here is that Wright has some supreme experience and knowledge in this space, having worked, as head of recruiting at the Hawks and also as head of footy whilst at the Pies. So, I imagine what he can bring to the table in terms of insights to the recruiting team and the footy department will be invaluable, which are skills super unique to the role of CEO. But, as I said, most importantly, I think it's the unity that stands out the most that will really help unify all of these different facets of the footy department, recruiting team, administration and the board. So really, really exciting times ahead. And I can't wait for him to get started and really help build upon what, the foundations that Brian Cook has helped build and will be passing on for, Wright to continue. So let's have a quick look at that. A bit of his, CV in his time at Carlton, Brian Cook. So, whilst our form on field, as we know, has been very much Jekyll and Hyde, off field, Brian Cook has helped the club get into a very strong position financially, and this has gone from strength to strength. In his first 2 seasons at the helm, 2022 saw our net operating profit sit at 3.3 million, and in 2023 it was again at a healthy 1.5 million, which was a 3.3 million before we factor in depreciation of the Icon Park redevelopment. In 2022, on a membership front, we grew to 88,776 members. Then in 2023, this increased to 95,277 members. And for the first time in the club's history, we surpassed and broke the 100K mark with 106,345 in 2024. So this milestone has us in the second highest membership bracket behind Collingwood. So, we're in uncharted territory here. We're building towards, hopefully on field that translates and we can, get some success. But, obviously off the back of that, we know that, we, the members, have done a power of the work to help build the club coffers once again from a membership perspective. So, Cook can't really take all the kudos there, but there's a solid foundation there for Graham Wright to really build off. And, under the tutelage of Brian Cook, arguably one of the best in the biz, from a pure CEO standpoint, Wright comes in almost as a bit of an all-rounder. You probably call him, he's a bit of a hybrid. He's not just, we're talking cricket terms here. He's not just a bowler or a batsman. He can do a bit of both. And he's got that skill set from a footy perspective to really help guide the footy department and the recruiting team as well. So now I don't know about you, but I haven't been this excited about an off-field signing for a long, long while. If I was to liken it to an on-field signing, I would say it's right up there with Chris Judd. For those people who've been following Graham Wright and his skill set and what he's been able to do across his career in the game, I think it's a big, big coup for the club. So let us know your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section. And fair to say, it's an exciting time for the club. Let's see what we can do on field across the rest of the trade period. But until then, we'll see you in the next one. Go Baggers.